makan tempoyak dengan apa, malam saya mimpi durian. So memang terima kasih banyak-banyak. Okay, so saya sebenarnya Malay, bila saya cuba cakap bahasa Melayu, semua orang tanya, kau Nepali ke? Jadi hari ni nak cakap English, Malay, minta maaf lah sebab kita cakap pasal kita punya kebudayaan, kita punya bangsa negara. But arwah bapa saya Tunku Mansur, dia dibawa ke UK pada umur 7. Lepas tu dia balik umur 28. I was brought up speaking English as my first language, and then umur 12 pun pergi ke UK, duduk sana sampai 12 tahun, balik main sini. I cakap Kedah pelik boleh, tapi cakap English okey. Cuba cakap Melayu KL, semua orang ingat I from Sabah. So sorry, minta maaf in advance. So actually I'm very humbled to be here. I'm not a historian, I'm not academic. My background is sebenarnya in the film industry. Nama saya yang sebenar Tunku Muhammad Taufek bin Tunku Mansur, tapi nama ni pun my grandmother bagi dekat I, sebab nama yang you all tahu sebagai Tommy itu nama yang arwah bapa saya bagi kepada saya. So dari kecil sampai sekarang everybody call me Tommy. And I was born in KL, and then belajar dekat luar negeri. Sebenarnya apa makna Tunku pun saya tak berapa faham what it means to be royal, what it means. This is all very new to me. Balik umur 24 baru belajar as an adult what it all meant to me. So even when it comes to my culture, my race and semua ni, memang I am learning. So kalau ada benda yang saya buka mulut, yang saya kata yang tersinggung ke, not politically correct or even against religion, minta maaf lah. Sorry. What I want to talk to you about is my opinion yang saya dapat, what I got to learn as somebody completely neutral. Saya belajar dari St. John's, and then I went to Garden International School, and then I went to Cheltenham College in England. And I think from my perspective ada advantage dia sebab I faham betul-betul macam mana mak saya fikir. So bila saya tengok apa yang baca balik kajian-kajian buku-buku yang ditulis sebagai sejarah-sejarah, especially when it comes to Kedah, right? Ada yang pro Malay, ada yang very nak menjahanamkan Melayu kita. So the contradiction that I found made me very passionate sebab bila saya dapat, when I got to learn about what my grandfather Tunku Abdul Rahman, Tunku Ya'acob, abang kepada Tunku Abdul Rahman, and what my grandfather did and what Sultan Abdul Hamid buat, semua ni I nampak ada satu legacy yang dia orang meninggalkan. Tapi bila saya cuba buat research ni macam tak jumpa. Okay, tapi yang ni benda yang really quite recent that I have come across. Bila I balik, I work on movie. So bila buat research, saya memang minat cerita-cerita yang menaikkan macam Lelaki Harapan Dunia, Pulang, Hanya. These are the movie that I did production design on. So bila kita buat kajian-kajian untuk asal-usul kemelayuan kita semua ni, banyak benda that as a kid that I grew up in Malaysia, especially in garden school until the age of 12, like benda-benda ni semuanya I was not told. What I was told is official written Malaysian history begin with the Malacca Sultanate in the 15th century. Bila I tengok balik Kedah, I punya my ancestors converted to masuk Islam in 1136. Macam mana? So Sultan Muzaffar Shah in Malacca dapat the credit of it being the oldest kingdom. So benda-benda macam ni semua I tak boleh accept, I cannot agree. Bila I research balik benda ni semua, ada banyak macam political view, religious view, social view yang menentang, yang support, yang semua ni. Where do I go? What do I believe? How do I come up with my own personal opinion? So hari ni, after kita bagi serahkan barang-barang Tunku Ya'acob, I was asked to talk about why I gave all this to Arkib Negara. First reason, my grandfather ada dua family, dari Johor dengan dari Kedah. So dia meninggal, dia mangkat pada tahun 1990 and I was about 21 years old. Masa tu masih ada dekat UK. Bila barang-barang sebelah Kedah didapat, it was distributed and kebanyak barang tu semua dah I tak tahu dekat mana. Tapi sebelah Johor, sebab my grandfather's second wife was Tunku Maimunah, binti Tunku Abu Bakar. She was the wife that ikut my grandfather on his political career. And dia punya cara, I don't know lah, dia kata orang Johor ni suka simpan benda, suka jaga benda elok. She did an amazing job in preserving all of my grandfather punya barang-barang. Dia simpan dengan cara memang amazing, right? So I got close to my grandfather punya anak, the youngest son, nama dia Tunku Nazim bin Tunku Ya'acob. And Tunku Nazim and Tunku Ya'acob punya relationship not so good. Tapi if I can explain a little bit, when it comes to the royal family, macam my relationship with my father memang not so good. His relationship with his father not so good. Bila I tanya my mother, kenapa? Oh, for me, being a royal is not a privilege. Being a royal is a responsibility. So your responsibility yang your grandfather have, that your father have, semua ni makan masa, and their duty is more to the nation, the country, than to the family. So masa tu I tak faham apa yang my mother kata. Tapi as I get older, I begin to accept this as the case, because my relationship dengan Tunku Ya'acob, in my whole life, I think I jumpa dia 5 minit kot. Itu je. I did not know my grandfather. I did not know him as a person. I did not know him as a political career. Tapi bila I pergi England umur 12, because my father went to Cheltenham College and then he went to Queen's College, Cambridge. My grandfather pun pergi Queen's College, Cambridge. So bila I sampai dekat Cheltenham College, dia orang kata, oh, you ni anak Tunku Mansur. You ni cucu Tunku Ya'acob. Betul ke? I macam tak tahu kan, that, oh, your grandfather bila datang sekolah ni visit your father, the ceremony was big. He was the High Commissioner. He was the Di Malaysia, I tak tahu pasal my grandfather. Dekat UK, dia orang lagi tahu pasal dia. So, I heran lah kenapa ni. I datang balik, cuba pergi arkib, cuba tengok information Tunku Ya'acob, tak ada. Tunku Abdul Rahman, dia punya younger brother, penuh. So apa jadi? What actually happened? Why did this happen? So I tak tahu nak kata discrimination ke apa, but I think my grandfather memang nak fokuskan attention kepada adik dia. Dia memang nak supportkan Tunku Abdul Rahman supaya Tunku Abdul Rahman boleh membuat job apa yang dia patut. My grandfather was always behind the scenes punya man. This is what I have found out since I got to know him. Tapi what was okay, these are some of the pictures of the films that I worked on, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, the reason why I think it's important, because I want to explain to you why I am here today, why I gave all the artifacts. Selain daripada barang-barang yang sebelah Kedah yang kita jumpa tu, kebanyakan dah dimakan anai-anai, kebanyakan dah falling apart, dah nak jadi dust. And I got to know kita punya Puan Hanizah from Arkib Negara. So I ajak dia datang to my stepmother punya rumah untuk tengok bahan-bahan semua ni. and tapi it's still being kept very badly in very bad humid conditions. I nak, kalau boleh nak ambilkan barang-barang ni, nak serahkan kepada Arkib untuk menjaga, tapi ada bantahan daripada my family, dia orang nak pegang. Barang-barang yang dapat sebelah Johor tu nothing to do with the Kedah side. And my uncle Jimmy, I panggil dia Uncle Jimmy lah, Tunku Nazim, dia macam I juga. Dia ni macam hippie sikit, dia punya perangai kan. Dia duduk dekat Pulau Dayang Bunting. Rumah dia tak ada dinding tau, open air to the ocean. So bila barang-barang dia dah dapat, when Tunku Maimunah pass away, all of Tunku Ya'acob punya barang, his political career semua sampai kepada Tunku Maimunah. Then the administrator of Tunku Ya'acob punya Johor side was dia punya daughter, oldest daughter, Tunku Rogaya. Tunku Rogaya passed away in November due to cancer last year. Uncle Jimmy telephone, "Hey Tommy, I know you nak buat commemoration center for your grandfather Tunku Ya'acob." I tak kenal dia, memanglah I research pun tak ada information apa, tapi takkan cucu tak nak tahu tu kan. So bila dia kata, "Tom, Straits View, rumah yang rasa dah pergi tu kan, Tunku Ya'acob," I pergi sampai sana. My childhood wish to get to know my grandfather terbuka. I thought at the age of 21 this dream died with me. Bila tengok-tengok, I dapat tahu macam mana dia hidup. I dapat tahu apa dia punya political career. I dapat tahu macam dia punya habits dia, apa yang dia minat. Sorry, this is all the movie productions that I worked on, and I want to go back and explain to you later about why this is important that I bring this up. This is all the projects. Okay. Now, this all started 25 years ago. My father passed away. Masa tu betul-betul I kakak bawa tempurung pasal sejarah, pasal kemelayuan kita, pasal apa tu memang zero. I nak kata I ni masalah hitam lah. Saya contoh lah. Betul cakap Inggeris Melayu pun tak boleh. Makan pie, makan spaghetti, nasi pun tak nak, makan tangan pun tak pergi. Tempoyak janganlah. Tapi semalam tempoyak dia memang dahsyat. So bila I fly, my father Tunku Mansur, he passed away in Perth at the Mount Hospital. He died of leukemia very suddenly. So I flew out to Australia, and I ended up sitting to this man. His name is Jim Redmond. The Redmond family comes from Raymond LeGros. They are the only undefeated Irish family in Ireland. So dia memang very proud of dia punya family legacy. So bila I duduk tepi dia, I cakap dengan dia pasal the fact that I come from the Kedah lineage and royalty. Dia, because he's a researcher and he's a historian, and he told me dia nak menaikkan tourism in Ireland mengikut Raymond LeGros and Redmond, because tourism in the northeast of Ireland memang hebat, but in the south, especially in the southwest, kosong. So if they can do the Redmond LeGros family, it's all to do with the French Normandy punya invasion of Ireland, bring up the history mengikut the lineage of the Redmond family. Interesting. Bila I cakap dengan dia about Kedah, dia pergi buat research about Kedah. Dia pergi buat research about tu. And then 1 year later he came back to Malaysia, and he asked me, "Can you take me to where your father is buried?" Di makam di Raja Langgar in Alsang Kedah kan. Bawa dia di situ, dia tengok makam Tunku Ya'acob ada situ, Tunku Abdul Rahman tepi, Sultan Abdul Hamid dekat sana, Sultan Abdul Pok, dia jadi gila. Dia kata the Redmond family punya heritage is like this compared to your family heritage. I tak tahu. I didn't know. I didn't even know what it meant. But because he had done research for 1 year and he told me about my own family legacy, we decided to open a company. Masa tu nama company kita Pusaka. So Pusaka was to research the truth of Kedah punya history. Because what he told me was, there is a man called James Lowe, who was the superintendent of Seberang Perai and Penang at the time, and James Lowe was the correspondence between British and the Siamese and the Malay, and dia tulis the Burney Agreement in 1905 or something, which basically surrendered the suzerainty of Kedah, Kelantan, Perlis and Terengganu to the British. And this, so I was learning a lot about what happened to my country of origin through somebody who hated the British because he's Irish. The British did the same thing to the Irish. So dia macam jadi gang lah. So kita memang nak undo the damage of the colonial powers. And so for almost 30 years now, we have been researching and developing, and we're coming up with Masa Kuno ni, we're coming up with a book. So buku ni is about the ancient Malay Kingdom Kedah. Tapi the problem that I'm facing right now is bila I cakap pasal the Maharaja sebelum 1136, the fact that they were Hindu, Buddha punya origin of semua, I get a lot of feedback saying, benda ni nanti kau bawa naik, you get target tau pasal ada orang tak suka semua ni. Then when I look at the agendas of education ke political ke religious ke apa ke semua ni, I rasa trap. I cannot go this way, I cannot go that way. So I have a policy where I just want to reveal the truth. I'm not a historian. I don't have the details of what it really means to be a true Malay or a true Muslim or a true this or a true that. But the only thing I can do is to be authentic and to reveal the facts for what they are, without an agenda, without anything. Because in this way, we can come up with a chronology and we can come up with an actual story of what really happened. So, when this is the book right now, the 9th edition of us to try and get this book, I pitched to Motet, but what I am really excited about is through Puan Haniza punya support. I met Professor Mota, I met Professor Zul, I met so many people that have a lot of information about Kedah, right, that we didn't have in this book. So we want to give the most truthful account. Batu bersurat yang baru jumpa, the apa nak kata, all the tuye yang jumpa dekat sungai Batu, right? So dapat sokongan daripada all the universities, Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka, even Datuk Go got I Ching punya writing, a traveller that came to Kedah in the 7th century and wrote about Kedah extensively. Even he is willing to help me to compile what I would love to put together, the most concise reportage of the ancient Malay Kingdom that we can then understand, you know, kita punya kebudayaan yang lama. James Lowe dismissed hikayat Marung Mahawangsa, right? Dia kata buku ni dongeng, buku ni memang tak boleh pakai, and then it became controversial. So actually Kedah doesn't have an official written Malay history, which I find crazy, right? So when this book is done, I would like to officially launch it, but also reinstate the books like Hikayat Marung Mahawangsa as official documents of our Kedah history. Altari Salasilah Negeri Kedah, all these Salasilah yang the British caused us to lose the identity and our understanding of our history, right? So why can't we do step by step? Inilah I kata, I belajar macam mana diorang, how they learn. So I understand, because Cheltenham College was a military school. They trained you how to become an officer in the British Army. And at the end of the day, sentiments out the window. Just, you have a duty to do. As long as you can manipulate and do and bully and do whatever you do to get the job done, that is how you are trained. No, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. I agree with the truth, and I agree with bringing up and reinstating what our heritage and our culture and what it means to be Malay, and walaupun I have a lot to learn myself. So why did I give this? Tunku Ya'acob was anak Sultan Abdul Hamid. Right? Sultan Abdul Hamid was known as the father of the modern Malays. Lebih kurang macam itulah, kan? Sultan Abdul Hamid, bila you tengok dia punya history, he realized that the damage that was done to Kedah from the legal invasion in 1821 was extreme. Kedah was a thriving kingdom, but bila legal attack, Merbuk dihancurkan, the trading facilities dihancurkan, and even bila in 1842 when it was surrendered back to Sultan Ahmad Tajuddin, if I'm not mistaken, memang tak ada apa, tempat tu memang dah kosong. The British held the port in Penang, and the Chinese had another port, and the trading facility in Kedah was non-existent. So dia nak form a new port and buka tempat nama Lubuk Pusing. I don't know whether any of you have heard of this place, but we should definitely investigate this, because my great-grandfather, Sultan Abdul Hamid, dia orang kata dia ni gila lah. Dia kata dia spend 3 million on a wedding for 3 bulan, everything like that. But when you dig below the surface of the articles macam surat menyurat and everything like that, surat menyurat Sultan Abdul Hamid, even Sir Francis Light letters and everything like that, when you actually start digging beneath the surface, you realize that what Sir Sultan Abdul Hamid was trying to do was to open a new port for Kedah in Merbuk. Tapi bila dia nak pinjam duit tu, dia pinjam duit under the pretense of doing a wedding, because he didn't want people to know that he was building a port to compete with Penang and the Chinese. These were the powers that were going to damage the situation. So bila King Chulalongkorn surrendered the suzerainty of Perlis, Kelantan, Kedah, Terengganu to the British, Sultan Abdul Hamid was heartbroken, and dia bagi a British advisor to come into Kedah, and Sultan Abdul Hamid lost power. So he couldn't spend the money building Lubuk Pusing. Lubuk Pusing was abandoned, right? Why? Until today, we don't know. We should know. The information is there. The information is all in all these personal journals and letters that have since come about, right? So, okay. My grandfather, Tunku Ya'acob, dia tahu pasal benda semua ni. He was very aware of what his father's agenda was. He was sent to be one of the anak-anak raja yang dihantar to UK so they can come back and rule the country. So as I find out more and more about what he was doing and what he's about, as a production designer in the filmmaking that I do research and development to get to the core of branding strategy, storytelling and stuff like that, this is now my passion and my project. I tak boleh restore barang-barang, gambar-gambar, surat-surat semua ni because I don't have the technology. When I visited Arkib Negara, respect, really I respect. I spend a lot of time, yeah. you guys are doing an amazing job, really, really amazing. You know, technologically, barang surat-surat semua cara, it's all being laminated between cellulose films, and the treatment, the particularness, the restorations of the old documents. I am overwhelmed, and I want to be a part of this gang, right? And so the little contribution that I can give with all the artifacts of my grandfather punya barang-barang, his story needs to be told. My great-grandfather's story needs to be told, right? Because they have the understanding of this is, Kedah was a kingdom. Kedah was a Malay kingdom, right? And this is Kemalayuan kita, Raja, right? Bangsa, negara. So this is cara-cara lama that we can understand. So when, how do I say this? When this story, if I want to take the information from Arkib Negara, from Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka, from Tunku Abdul Rahman Memorial, from all the places that have the most incredible wealth of information, right? What is the best way to take this information and to make sure the public knows it, right? Kalau the younger generation like me, when I was younger, jangan harap aku nak baca buku sejarah. I'm not interested in it, right? So we need to create content. We need to create content that the young generation will say, Mama, Papa, I nak pergi tengok benda-benda yang, so that I can learn about my country. So when we educate the younger generation, we create a new mindset of respecting and understanding what our heritage is all about, right? So we need to take this information and we need to develop it and commoditize it and make movies and make children's show like Asterix and Obelix. Asterix and Obelix are two weird characters that travel around Europe telling about the story of Europe. Why don't we have, I have a character called Merong the monkey, right? Merong the monkey travels around Kedah and tells all the story about what happened in Kedah as a form of children entertainment. Tapi it will open the minds and the brains of the younger kids. I want to know, because the story of Kedah and the story of what happened there, which has been dismissed by the colonial powers, claiming that it all began with the Malacca Sultanate. No offense to Malacca, but you know, we're 1,000 years before, right? And Sungai Batu proves that it's maybe even older than that. Why can't we use this to appreciate? Anyway, ta-da, there's the man. He is now my hero, because even though I didn't know him before, what this man did, if you tengok dia punya accolades online, that's all you have lah. A list of the fact that he was commissioner of oath, the fact that he was agricultural, the first thing, the fact that he put together Rida, which then became Mara, the fact that he did pasar Pekan Rabu, and dia punya cerita-cerita semua ni memang he was a phenomenal achiever, and what he did was pretty good. So dia dengan Tunku Abdul Rahman, they were 4 years apart, so they were very close, and so they grew old together, and in fact they died within a month of each other. When Tunku Abdul Rahman they died pretty much. So they were like a gang trying to do what their father wanted them to do. So these were all the stories that I heard from Uncle Jimmy, from Ani Gamba. So benda-benda yang I inherited from my Uncle Jimmy from Straits View house. the first time I went there was last November. I baru tahu about what it was like. Tapi dokumen ni semua, I think because it needs to be scanned in high resolution, I haven't got a copy of the documents or all of them yet. Tapi these were all the pictures that were taken when Arkib and came. Bila bulan 3 kan, we had the function in Kedah. We went over and did the official handover. These were all the artifacts that were taken, and these are some of the documents that and pictures that were taken with Queen Elizabeth, and cerita dia memang sangat-sangat menarik and sangat-sangat revealing of what so sorry, I just wanted to get to dia punya medals, dia punya diaries, and memang needs to be preserved because I have not had the chance to go through it. I've not read everything, and even if I did, I probably would not understand the implications of it as the professors and the people that understand. So it's not up to me to hang on to all these things which I consider to be national treasures, right? Because once they're gone, they're gone. You've lost it. So I not make sure that the technology to be preserved, right, is there. So you tahu lah dia ambassador. So what we are, all the medals and the awards that one day I would like to. And then when I did this, I was asked by Datuk Halima to write about my grandfather. So she did this book called Roots, the Living Heritage, with University Malaya, which I think is being published at the end of this year. So that was the story about my journey, about what I briefly told you about. I didn't know him as a kid, and then I gave up on the thought of ever getting to know him. And then last year, it was a very emotional time for me when I actually learned who Tunku Ya'acob actually was, and then he made me so proud to be his grandson. And so dekat Tunku Abdul Rahman Memorial belakang Bank Negara, we are proposing, because artifact sekarang semua Arkib Negara can hold the documents and the photographs, everything that's the 2D. In order to do a display of Tunku Ya'acob, I thought it would be fantastic, because of the relationship he had with his younger brother, Tunku Abdul Rahman, to do an understanding walkthrough of all the artifacts, plus more. Yang you nampak tadi itu baru 10% kot. Yang barang-barang dia banyak. So ini proposal that we're trying to put together, and at the east wing of Tunku Abdul Rahman Memorial, tempat ni kosong, so I minta lah kita buat a display like this. So anyway, ini just a proposal design right now, and so this is evidence that Lubuk Pusing existed, that I am not talking hypothetically. And kenapa tempat ni orang tak tahu kenapa Sultan Abdul Rahman dituduh spending 3 million on a wedding and taken the power taken, and kata dia he was going insane. I'm sorry if I appear to be a bit of an activist, but I would love to clear the name of my great-grandfather, because what he did was to try and bring the economy of Kedah back up and to fight the colonial powers, the British and the Siamese bersebuhat to bring Kedah down. Kita tengok the British map of Kedah dated 1919 1907, Kedah tak ada. Kedah was part of Saiburi. This is ridiculous to me, right? So officially, my mission in my life that I have discovered is to do this work. My mission is to bring up the truth, non-political, non-religious, nothing. It's just to bring up the truth. And if I cannot talk about what my father, grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather did, right? If anybody tried to stop me from talking it, they will see a really not so nice side of me. So, thank you. I've come to the end of my speech.
Maafkan walaupun dia tidak fasih bahasa Melayu, katanya dia Melayu, katanya dia orang Inggeris yang berkulit hitam. Jadi kalau kita dengarkan bahasanya memanglah itu dia old traditional British English. Saya American English. Jadi banyak yang kalau dia soundnya hidung sikit lagi itu baru betul-betul pure English. Anak saya di Manchester balik, saya tak tahu dia cakap apa. Okey. Terima kasih kepada tiga-tiga pembicara. Saya rasa